how to tap into your higher self. Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 33, then Friday, partly sunny with a high of 53. The Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Mandarin and Sichuan favorites for nearly 45 years. Check out the Great Wall on France Avenue along the Minneapolis-Edina City line a few blocks north of 50th Street. Place a takeout order or view a menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
A reminder that tonight the Patty Vasquez Show is going to be preempted for a special 2-hour GhostBox Radio event. Don't miss Travis Walton's incredible story of alien abduction live with special guest Jennifer Stein. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez will be back in her usual time tomorrow night at 9.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are unexplained topics that just can't fit into an hour. Alien abduction, cryptozoology, demonic possession. We can't hide from these subjects. They must be talked about. They cannot be ignored. We are believers, and we can discuss them here. This is GhostBox Radio After Dark.
This is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us for this special 2-hour episode of GhostBox Radio. We have a lot to get to tonight. We are so excited, so humbled. I want to first just give my shout out, of course, to Adam in the next room. We'll be talking more with Adam as the night goes on. Thank you as always. And I also want to give a quick thank you to my friend Chuck, because Chuck was able to help me get this lined up for tonight, as I had been stumbling for some time to figure out how to pull this together. And I just wanted to make sure that Chuck knows that you're very much appreciated. And thank you very much. Tonight, we are going to have this fantastic conversation. My special guests tonight are Travis Walton and Jennifer Stein. And Travis, for those of you who follow ufology, know very well the story of Travis and his experience and incident that happened on November 5th, 1975. We're going to be talking about that tonight. We're going to really get hopefully some good questions in there. I know that Travis has talked about this most of his life now, so hopefully we'll have some questions that might make him be like, oh, I don't know if I've been asked that before. And then, of course, Jennifer Stein, who we're very grateful for and who was with me every step of the way to make sure that this happened. Jennifer is the director of the film, Travis Walton, the movie. I had just watched that this weekend to get prepared for it. It's fantastic. It's available on YouTube. Go check it out. We're going to be talking about that. Also, Jennifer works with MUFON. We're going to talk about that as well as some events that are coming up that is worth your time to check out. So first of all, Travis, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, good. It's nice that we texted for so long. It is so nice to be able to hear your voice and actually kind of speak in person here.
Happy Equinox. Happy to be here.
Happy Equinox. And it just so happens too, today is, it's not official. I don't even know who comes up with this stuff. Today is Alien
Abduction Day.
It's like, you can't.
Well, that's news to me.
Yeah, well, but only one of us, I think, in this group actually has taken part in that day, festivities, I guess. I don't know. So Travis, I want to be able to have people understand at least the start, like the story, what happened to you, your experience. But I have to ask, you've told this story so many times now, and it's going to be 50 years in November. What is your thought when someone asks you, can you tell us your experience again? What's your first reaction to that?
Well, I tell them even then I don't enjoy talking about it, so it's not anything I really want to get into great detail with in casual conversation.
What is it? Why do you then take part in like interviews like this and other things? Is it to just so people are educated with what's going on, or is there another?
Yes, well, I think it's important for people to know that there's a core reality here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So going back to, and I just want to kind of get into a little bit of this for those who may not fully know the story here. But once again, watch Travis the movie, and you're going to get a very good insight into this. But on November 5th, you were working with your friends, and you were logging. What happened? What was going on?
Well, I was one of a crew of 7. We had just finished a very long day. We'd been working long days for some time, trying to get the contract finished before the winter weather made access to the forest impossible in the winter when the snows come down heavy. Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the one night, who was you're all driving, you see some lights. It's that night, at the end of the day, you're all seeing lights off in the distance. Who first saw those lights?
It wasn't that far away. I think everybody was kind of noticing the glow. It wasn't anything really shocking or frightening at first. Mm-hmm. I just thought maybe it was out of place, because normally you don't find any lights in the woods when we're the only ones out there. But mm-hmm. I was thinking maybe some deer hunters might be camped up on the ridge there, maybe lights coming through a tent or something. But the pondering didn't last too long, because when we got to where we could see directly, there it was, unmistakable. I didn't yell out. Somebody yelled out, one of the crew in the back seat. This is a crew cab, a double cab. That's how all 7 of us were in one crew. Someone yelled out, "It's a flying saucer, or it's a spaceship or something."
Wow.
But it was more of an exclamation rather than anything that helped us identify what we were seeing, because it was so clear and so close. It was less than 100 feet away. There's no doubt about it. It wasn't some glowing spot of light, hazy through the distance. I mean, we were looking at an object, not just a source of light.
So was the light already down, like from the ship down, like that beam of light, or had that part not happened yet? That
didn't happen until I got close.
Okay. And you were the only one that jumped out of the truck. And why did you jump out of the truck? Why did you?
It was just kind of on impulse. I thought it would take off, just like when we spot wildlife.
Sure.
You call to the crew and tell them, "Hey, there's a bear over there," or something. They're lucky if they see it, look quick enough to catch it. So that was my impulse. When girls ask Steve, "How come you didn't get out of the truck?" He says, "Well, it was mind control."
Oh, really?
He claims it was mind control. They were the aliens were making me get out of the truck, and he was strong enough to resist it and stay there. I said, "Steve, why not?" The mind control was to keep us in the truck, and I was the one overcoming it. But that was just kind of a joking thing about, why didn't you get out of the truck? Well, because they were smarter than I was to not get out and approach that thing.
It's funny. There's a lot of people who are in the comments right now. I think the majority of them would get out of the truck too, even after hearing your story. I think a majority of them would want to check it out and experience it. I mean, it's one of those things. Now you get out of the truck, and here's the thing that I found very interesting that I'll probably mangle, and you can correct me. This beam of light that comes down and gets a hold of you. A couple things with that I find very interesting. Number one, I think you had mentioned that you thought that it kind of got to you maybe accidentally or something, and that
I think it was some kind of a static discharge kind of a thing.
Sure.
It made a real weird feeling in the air there, prickly feeling like there was a charge. But the guys were yelling at me, "Get back on the truck. Come on, let's go. Let's get away from here." And then it started to move, and the sound it was making got louder. It was a really strange mixture of highs and lows, impossible to describe.
Yep.
But when it got louder, I just jumped for cover down behind a log, which really brought me down and forward. So when I responded to their pleading to me to get back in the truck, I stood up to run back to the truck, and that closed the distance to the surface of the craft. And I think a discharge occurred through me that was fatal, or nearly so.
Well, but that's another thing that I found very interesting watching Travis the movie, which everyone should go see if you haven't seen it yet. Is that you think that it killed you, right? And that's why they took you, is to fix you.
Yeah, that's what I think. I didn't think that at first. To me, I accepted the general idea that I'd been maybe triggered a defensive mechanism, and that they had fired a weapon at me. But no, I don't think so now. I think that it was an accident, and that was what sort of made it necessary for them to take me and do the repair that no one else could.
Do you? I'm just curious if you remember at what stage, how long after this experience that you kind of came to that conclusion?
Well, it was a gradual realization, just taking into account the fact that they didn't have to return me at all.
Yeah.
If they were aware of the situation, if they'd have dumped my body on some asteroid somewhere, the crew would have gone on being suspected of having murdered me forever. Yeah. And the report of seeing the craft would have gone on forever as just some crazy excuse to cover up a murder.
Right. And I guess the reason why I'm asking that question is because what I find very fascinating is the idea that you've had so much time now that you are, that it doesn't seem like it's just straight cut and dry, that you keep thinking about it and you keep formulating new theories and thoughts about what happened to you all these years ago. And it just really goes to show that is just such, that you are constantly kind of, I don't want to say regurgitate, but maybe a little bit of that.
Well, trying to think of why return me to where they did. They didn't take me to my hometown. They took me to the town nearest where it happened. But in hindsight, you can see that would be the one place that they could drop me and be basically invisible to the town, except for me being able to see that the town was there and run down and get help.
And I suppose you should be happy that they didn't drop you where they picked you up, because you'd probably die there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would have been, 15 miles at freezing temperatures. I probably would have died trying to get home.
Oh my gosh. And so when this happened, like you said, they had taken you. By this point, the truck with your friends drove off, and then they decided to come back because they wanted to make sure they just didn't want to leave you. They panicked, they left, they came back. After that,
in the movie, they make it to where when Mike pulls over and says, "Look, we can't leave him like that. We've got to go back and see if he's still alive, we can help." And that really happened. But when he said, "Anybody that doesn't want to go back with us can wait here," no one volunteered to wait alone in the dark there in the woods. They all opted to go back with the crew, reluctantly, I guess, to see if I was alive and could be rescued.
And then that was something definitely noticed, because I did when watching Jennifer's excellent film, I watched that first and then Fire in the Sky afterwards. And I was like, that was like one of the biggest differences right there, was that it was one, everyone went, the other only two people went back, and I knew which one was the truth. But they were under considerable strain, being believed to be suspects in your murder then. Yeah.
And we weren't a close-knit group. One or two of the guys had been in trouble before, and perfect somebody to accuse of being the murderer. Chainsaw murder, if nothing else.
Right. And 5 days later, that's when you reappear on Earth, basically in another town, and you called Mike, right? Mike Rogers?
No.
Okay.
No, I called my family.
You called your family. Okay. The movie, you called Mike Rogers. That's what it was. Okay. I tell you, kind of trying to keep it all straight over here. Great. I'm glad that you're able to, Travis, because I'm certainly not doing it over here. And then they pick you up, they bring you back, and then how was that then, getting back to your friends after? How was that reunion? How did that go?
I was so traumatized. I couldn't even talk about what I had experienced, even to my brother, and he knew that I couldn't withstand an interrogation. So he didn't turn me over to the sheriff. He took me to the get medical help, and I had medical examination the next morning, and um, hypnosis, and there was quite a bit of research. And I'm so lucky that the regressive hypnosis was done with the technique that was used, because I heard a story later where one of the crew was subjected to hypnosis, where he was actually directed to where he was going to re-experience what happened. And it was so incredibly harmful, traumatic for him to relive it. Whereas the technique they used with me was to go back to it as an observer.
Yeah, that'd be much better. Travis and Jennifer, I want to do this. We need to get our first break in. When we come back, I want to continue the story. I also want to bring in Jennifer. I want to talk about the film and get her perspective on a lot of things too. And then, folks, I see comments that are lining up. We'll take comments. We'll take phone calls. More in the second hour for questions for Travis. This is going to be a great night. Thank you all for joining. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio, special edition on AM 950.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio After Dark. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you for joining us for this very special episode tonight, and we're very honored to have with us both Travis Walton and Jennifer Stein. Very appreciative of giving us so much of your time tonight. I want to finish the first round of what we're talking about, Travis's experience, and then I want to bring Jennifer in to talk about her role in over the last number of years and a lot of different things. And also, like I said last segment, I see a lot of questions in the comments. No, I'm not ignoring you. We will get to those a little bit later in the program. You know, Travis, one question I wanted to ask, because I was a little unclear about, because you did talk about the hypnosis. Did you remember anything at the time that it happened, or did it all really come out?
I did remember it. It wasn't necessary for the hypnosis, but I was unable to verbalize any of it, not even to my brother. I couldn't describe it. It was way too traumatic. That depersonalization technique they used allowed me to describe it for the first time.
What did they do to you in there?
I was gone for over 5 days, and I don't know where in the 5 days this conscious period was. I woke up in a lot of pain, real fuzzy, not really sure what was going on. But I remembered approaching the object, getting hurt, and assumed that I had been taken to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I was laying on a table with a light above me, and when I could finally focus my eyes and see where I was, I saw these creatures standing over me, and I just freaked out. And the adrenaline blast got me moving, but I was definitely not in a healthy state.
No, it's, and I apologize if I'm going back to the film too much, because that to me is my point of reference at the moment. And in the film, it looks like a lot of like decay and stuff, but I've seen artist rendering that seems to be like based on what you've said, and it doesn't really seem that way at all. Was it more like a clinical sort of spaceship? Did it feel like?
Yes, definitely. The part aboard the craft was, from my conscious period there, what had been changed so much that when they gave me a copy of the script, they left that part out. They didn't. They knew I wasn't not going to like the departures from reality there, and so I'm looking forward to a remake to tell what really happened.
Right, because that whole sequence is like much more horrific, like a horror movie, I guess, is kind of the way it feels like. But I mean, the fact that it happens at all has to be scary enough. It doesn't need to have these horror elements to it.
Right. There were some other really bizarre things that were filmed, but fortunately not used in the film.
Right. No. Well, that's something, I guess, at least. Because I remember you saying in another interview that you got up, you grabbed something from a shelf or something to try to keep them away from you. I mean, you kind of.
I was basically threatening them to not come any closer, and if they needed to get to me in order to save my life, I wasn't going to cooperate. So I think they summoned help of some kind, someone that resembled human, maybe was human, I don't know, that I was going to cooperate with. And he took me out of the ship to the company of some other humans, or what appeared to be humans, where I was rendered unconscious. And I think, in hindsight, probably the rest of the medical rescue continued at that point.
So you were on the ship, then you were taken off the ship. Presumably the ship landed somewhere off Earth.
Yeah, it was inside of a large enclosure. I don't know whether you'd call it a hangar or part of a larger craft, but it was just a big, it resembled an airplane hangar in a way.
Sure.
Other disc-shaped craft in there. It took me out of that main larger room to where I was rendered unconscious.
Just absolutely incredible. And I can't imagine all of these new visuals, let alone what's happening to you, coming at you at once, and you're trying to process it all. I mean, I just couldn't imagine what that's like.
It was a very, very traumatic whole experience. And even immediately after I was returned, even recalling what I'd just been through was so out of sync with anything I had experienced in my life before that it was pretty traumatic. And then on top of that, to be accused of making it up or something,
right,
a million miles from that.
It had to feel like you didn't have a friend anywhere, or at least the ones who were friends, that they were just few and far between.
Yeah.
And even now, telling the story, going back to it, like you said at the top of the show, this is even talk about it now, it gives you a traumatic sort of feel, huh?
Yeah, it does. To this day, I never bring it up on my own.
Sure. But you have to, but yet you end up having to talk about it a lot regardless, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a duty, an obligation I have.
Wow. I want to, we're going to get back to that. I want to bring in Jennifer, who's been patiently waiting there. And I just wanted to make sure that, number one, you know that we haven't forgotten about you. And I wanted to kind of talk about the fact that, first of all, Travis Walton, the movie, you really want to go and check it out because Fire in the Sky is visually very wonderful. DB Sweeney is great in it, but this isn't the story. And I know my audience wants to know the story. And Jennifer, one of the things that you and I talked about before the program started was your ability to put a very human side to the story. And I was really taken in such a positive way about Travis and the way they told the story, in the way that he could relate to even the people who looked at it as like it's fake and stuff. Like he was able to really encompass all of it and really get his story across. And I thought your film does such a great job with that.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you. I think that was the goal. And it was a hard challenge to rise to that occasion. And even just undertaking the project, my first real mission was to get as educated as I could about the story, meet Travis, get my sense of what I felt really happened, and then gain Travis's trust. Because a lot of people, always had a knife behind their back, or they had another alternative agenda in some way, shape, or form that worked with Travis. Even even Tracy Torme, who worked with Paramount, who did the Fire in the Sky film, didn't intentionally in any way attempt to change the story, but the producers did, and it was out of Tracy's hands. So doing a documentary gave me the opportunity, because the full intention was to just really stick to the story, stick to the book. And since Travis had written a book, it gave me more credibility to base the documentary on the book. It gave me, when I brought in other producers to help me and other editors to help me, I had other material to turn over to them than just the video files of the interviews of all the living crew members, the police, and the polygraph expert, which I thought
in Jennifer's film, she interviewed so many of the people related to the incident, including my family members, but probably uniquely, the sheriff, after he had left his office, was free to confess what he really thought, which was that he believed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact, for your listeners, Greg, if they go to the film website, which is traviswaltonthemovie.com, if they go there and they kind of begin to scroll around, there's multiple pages there. I mean, the first page announces the DVD, and people can buy it or they can watch it on YouTube. As we said, they don't need to buy it now. It is available on YouTube, but they may want their own copy, for what. But there was quite a bit of debunking that happened around Travis's case over many years. In fact, when you read his book, 1/3 of his book deals with Philip Klass and the debunking that Philip did.
You're going to talk about Philip Klass. Yep, absolutely.
We will eventually, right. But what I did, just for the benefit, since we're speaking about Marlon Gillespie, who was really a lovely man, he was the main sheriff that was, directing the investigation on Travis's missing person story and potential homicide story and UFO story. That's why it broke in the news with such, elaborate, hoopla, because it was really 3 different stories in one. When we first went to his house and set up our camera equipment and everything, I was chomping at the bit to say, tell me, have you had your own UFO experiences? I figured, he could dismiss it and decide not to answer it, which was what we assumed he would do.
Yep.
But he didn't.
Really?
And that's what your listening audience can watch. He told us a very interesting story right up front before we got into Travis's case. And it's up online. We put the whole entire interview with Marlon Gillespie online. People can watch it because I thought that was really important, especially for the people debunking the case. You know, if they really want to hear it from someone else, listen to the police who were, you know, very familiar with a lot of UFO encounters and sightings that had happened and very unusual phenomenon. So he shares his own story right up front before he goes into talking about Travis's case. And that's really interesting. I mean, that you gotta like go, whoa.
Right. So there's an official side to it and then his personal side to it about, I mean, isn't that something? Oh my goodness.
Marlon was very kind to us. We really had a nice afternoon with him. It was really great.
That's, I mean, Travis, is this the first time that your story, your experience was truly, apart from your own book that you've written, was it the first time that it's been turned out as it happened and without any sort of agenda?
Well, it certainly encompassed many details that had been overlooked or were unknown at the time previous to this. So, you know, particularly the sheriff's contribution.
Yeah.
And enough time had gone by where various theories were explored and disproven.
Absolutely. Before we take our next break, Jennifer, how did you get involved with making this film?
Well, kind of backwards and upside down.
Isn't that always the case? Yeah.
Yeah. I probably just, you know, curiosity got the better part of me. And I also had some talents and some resources that I could put towards it. I actually met Travis in 2010 at the UFO International Festival in Roswell that happens every year around 4th of July weekend. And I had volunteered with my good friend Peter Robbins to sort of be his assistant and his gopher and whatnot. We brought in Jesse Marcel Jr. at that time to be honored because his father had long since gone. And we brought Jesse Marcel back to Roswell. He'd never been back. We took him back to his home where he had the very famous experience of his dad bringing some of the debris into the house and having him go through some of the debris on the kitchen floor. And then his father telling him he could keep some. And then his father having to come back and say, no, I'm sorry.
Nope, got to get back.
Can't keep this little shoebox worth of debris. I've got to turn it in. So anyway, I was shuttling around Jesse Marcel Jr. And after the conference, Travis and I and a couple of other people had dinner with Travis, and we drank a bottle of wine and we started to talk. And we said, you know, Travis, your story is as significant as the Roswell case. Yeah. And it's 20 to 25 years newer, right? Roswell was 47. This was 75. We were like, you know, you could be having a conference like every year up in Heber or Snowflake or Pine Top or somewhere up in that region of Arizona. And it could be a real economic boom for these small towns that, you know, could end up building hotels and filling them. I mean, Roswell gets, you know, sometimes upwards of 10,000 people that show up. Yep. So it was kind of with this business model and with this idea that he should have a conference that I set out interviewing some of the crew members, because Travis's idea, which he actually ended up pulling off. So my hat's off to Travis, but his idea was, well, we should take everyone into the forest at night. And I was like, maybe that's not really a good idea. It might be snowing. It might be muddy. If somebody gets lost, some people come to conferences with walkers and wheelchairs. And, you know, this is a 45-minute hike from the nearest dirt road, you know, to where this event took place in the Turkey Springs Valley. And I was thinking, no. We'll just have them in an auditorium and we'll show them interviews with the guy and we'll show them videos of the forest. And it's like taking them there, but it's this from the safety of a hotel conference room. Like, let's, you know, we have to have insurance if we're going to have a conference, and we'll never get it if we try to take people to the forest. So that's what I started off doing. Sure. And then I was running a conference in Philly, one of the Philly symposium, because I was involved in MUFON, and I was bringing in Stanton Friedman and Lee Spiegel and, all these great people, Kathleen Martin, and I could sit them down and interview them, Ben Hansen, right? So I put all these people in front of a camera, interviewed them, got such great stories from them. And then I had the crews, videotaped interviews. And then I thought, I wonder if Marlon Gillespie's still alive. I wonder if, Chuck Ellison is alive. What about Cy Gilson, And I tracked these people down, scheduled interviews, flew out, interviewed them. And that's kind of when I realized I had the makings of a film. And I have to say, if it wasn't for my wonderful nephew, Adam Stein, who was able to really pull like my 4-hour film that I knew was good, but it's like, it's got to be an hour and a half, not 4 hours. He really honed it down and said, it's a personal interest story. This is the angle. This is where we're going to edit. This is what we cut out. And this is what needs to happen. And that's when we really pushed to get it done for the 40th anniversary. So it was really I didn't really start out knowing I was making a documentary, but I did gain Travis's trust, I think,
That's fantastic. And it seems like that was the perfect window of time, because unfortunately some people have passed since then. So I appreciate that. We're up against the clock. I need to take another break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. Plus, we're going to talk about Philip J. Class. We're going to talk about tree rings. We got a whole lot of things to talk about. There is let's just make this a 3-hour, Adam. Okay, we'll just do a 3-hour tonight. All right, there we go. Just kidding, of course. Travis is like, all right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio After Dark on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And welcome back to GhostBox Radio After Dark. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight with our special episode with Travis Walton and Jennifer Stein. And I do want to just do a little bit of housekeeping before we go any further. I just would like to remind folks that if you're watching us on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook, please consider sending us some stars. Stars is not only a little bit of help that keeps the show going and stuff, but more importantly, it gets in the algorithm. It lets people know. Facebook then allows people to see us more visibility. get more people to watch and whatnot. So would really appreciate if you do so. Before we get back into the questions and stuff, Jennifer, I wanted to ask you if you could tell us about an upcoming event that you want to share.
Sure. I'll be happy to. So we're doing something called the Skyfire Summit. And that, let me see, I'll put it more like that where people can see it.
Go. That looks good.
Yeah, the Skyfire Summit is going to be a conference that we'll do in Sedona in October. It'll be October 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Sedona is a beautiful place to come. It's going to be a very small, intimate conference with just a number of speakers. Don Schmidt will be there. Travis Walton will be there. We'll have Melinda Leslie.
Oh, yeah, Melinda. Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll also have David Childress, who's on Ancient Alien Watt. And it's going to be just basically a conference with some breaks in between. Friday night, we'll start with a screening of Accidental Truth, which is another documentary film I've made with Ron James that's about the disclosure issue. And then all day Saturday, we'll have a conference. We'll have a meet and greet at a nice night spot in Sedona called Steakhouse 89A, along with all the speakers, which will be very nice. Then Sunday, it'll be a half a day conference, and that's the day Travis will appear. And then Sunday morning, we are going to tune in to UFO Awareness Day, which is an international event that takes place with groups all over the world, which will link in with the New Paradigm Institute, both in California and Washington, D.C., that Danny Sheehan's involved in. And we'll have various statements from, people like Lou Elizondo and Carl Nell and, maybe David Grush and a few other whistleblowers will be on that program. And a few people will make public statements about the importance of bringing UFO awareness out into the forefront, because when we live with secrecy, it harms everyone. And we do have some things out of balance in our world, probably big pharma, the military industrial complex. There are things that need to be revealed that have not. And the UFO issue's been under wraps for almost 80 years. So the byline to the conference is secrecy to transparency. So it's like from secrecy, we're going to expose, and it's going to be an overview of UFO history, but with key points being made. So I think anyone who wants to experience Sedona, it's beautiful in the fall. Come and meet and greet people. You'll have the opportunity to even invite some of the speakers out to dinner if you want. We have some free evenings and some free mornings where you can have breakfast somewhere or take a hike. So it's going to be a nice little opportunity, and it's honoring the 50th anniversary of Travis's experience. So that's the main event. And if they go to sedonamufon.org, they can learn all about it. There's information up. And then we're doing a couple other things that's also listed there. Actually, on the anniversary, on November 5th, we're screening the film at the Sedona Film Festival with Q&A with Travis. And we'll do 2 screenings. There'll be a 3 p.m. and a 7 p.m. screening because they'll sell out for sure. So, it's very nice. And then a couple days later, Phoenix MUFON will host Travis on November 8th. So there's a series of things we're doing over a period of 2 weeks to honor this 50th anniversary of all the ridicule that Travis and all the boys in the crew have really put up with. And I have huge amount of respect for them. And these events are done with, the utmost respect for all of them. Even though we'll probably only have Travis at these events, I don't know that any of the other crew members are coming in because that gets expensive.
There's no only about Travis. All right. I'm happy to Refined Divine says, Greg, road trip. Yes, let's do this. Right. We have about 7 minutes before we're already at the end of our first hour. That just blew by fast. So I want to get to a couple things real fast, and we're going to go through those events again, and I'm going to share links as well. Make sure we want to support this stuff. This is very important to do. Now, Travis, there's a lot of people throughout this experience that are misinformed. They don't know. They're jumping to conclusions, but in my mind, there's truly one villain in this piece, and that's in my mind, that's Philip J. Klass. Could you tell us a little bit about Philip Klass, please?
Well, he came up with all kinds of crazy theories. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. So he checked all of the astronomical tables and told us that the planet Jupiter was prominent. So maybe all the crew ever saw was the planet Jupiter, which is just totally absurd. You know, less than 100 feet away, a metallic disc glowing, creating incredible sounds, not the planet Jupiter. And there was a number of other kinds of crazy theories that were of course, maybe the whole crew was hallucinating on drugs and it was some kind of mass delusion. Just any way to explain it away. Throw everything at it and see what sticks.
Yeah. And one of the things that first of all, this is what shows me what a gentleman Stanton Freeman was in the film, that he never talks about, unless it didn't make the film, and I can't imagine it wouldn't have, that Philip Glass also tried to destroy Stanton Freeman as well, right? I mean, with a lot of inaccuracies and lies.
Well, he attacked everybody. If he could just dig up dirt on somebody, you don't have to respond to their argument, just destroy their character.
Right. And like I said before the start of the show, before we started, I said, even though I can't say that, I'm not saying that J. Edgar Hoover had any direct responsibility with this. That all felt like that sort of tactic, doesn't it? Where if Class can't get what he wants and can't get people to go against you, he's going to try to pay them to do so.
Well, he certainly got the attention of J. Edgar Hoover. I actually have a memo from an FBI memo accusing Class of falsehoods and
because he. And it wasn't known at the time, right away. It wasn't known that he was also working for the government, right? That wasn't immediately known.
Yeah, it was signed by J. Edgar Hoover, but it was turning the investigation and all of the information they'd gathered about Philip Glass over to the CIA. I have that document, and anybody wants a copy, I can show you that this was he was definitely into some nefarious activities. There's quite a sheaf of papers that the FBI released of their investigation of Philip J. Glass, but quite a bit of it was blacked out, redacted.
Sure.
I'd love to know what was undercover there. I know some of it is just investigative techniques or stuff, but
sure.
Who knows?
Well, and I think, we talked about this also before the start of the show. The most baffling part about this is that Glass went around and he interviewed everybody associated with this except one person, and that was you.
That's right. And I was available to media, so it could have. And even when I was on the Larry King show with Mike Rogers, and I think that was the only other crewman on that show, Philip Glass didn't make any effort whatsoever to direct any comments to me or about me or anything.
So you were on the same show with him and he ignored you.
Yeah, it's really strange. Why? You would think he would say, he was actually so enraged that he was using profanity on national television, and yet didn't venture any comment to me whatsoever.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, that's ludicrous. I mean, it's
not like he didn't have the opportunity, because although I'd never been approached by him or asked for an interview or anything, the closest he came was right there on Larry King, and not a word.
My theory about that is that everyone else in the crew had in the past wavered one way or the other, just for whatever reason, being human and not insane. And you never wavered. You've always said the same thing. You've always been able to explain what happened. And I just, to me, it felt like that he knew he wasn't going to be able to get to you. So just going to ignore the person this is all about.
Well, he flew to a place in Texas and actually took one of the crew out to dinner to try to persuade him, and got nothing that he used. So it's really strange. It was probably all positive stuff, which of course he's going to delete.
Right. He doesn't want to hear that at all. And wasn't Steve offered $10,000?
Yeah, he was offered quite a bit of money by Philip Glass to quote unquote tell the truth about it.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to give, so he got nothing.
Wow.
Actually, Steve told his wife, I'm thinking about taking the money. And she said, well, you told me this really happened. He says, it did. I just want the money. And she said, no, you're not doing that. I think he was just kind of thinking out loud there, not serious, but
because that is a lot of money. I mean, it's tough, right? That's what Philip Glass wanted to do. He wanted to create a moral dilemma for him that maybe something he couldn't refuse, and he ended up refusing, and that's thank goodness.
Well, it took Steve came out and spoke with me and went and subjected himself to interviews and all that sort of thing for a number of years. He was started to be teased, tormented by his uncle or his cousin or something, claiming that he's a big baby because he was crying when it happened. Well, Mike Rogers admits that he was crying. And I was, when I wrote that in the book, I was just going by what the other crew members told me. I wasn't there, but he got really upset and wanted me to revise the book to eliminate any reference to him crying. And that was really something that bothered him a lot, to the point where he wants to reanalyze the whole experience to something that doesn't involve crying.
So what we got to do, we're up against the clock for our first hour. Folks, what's going to happen, we're going to take a small break, probably about 5 minutes or so. We got the news, weather, everything else to get through. Come back to us at 10:05 Central Standard Time, and we're going to start hour 2 of GhostBox Radio After Dark. There you can call in, ask questions to Travis and Jennifer, and we'll be back.
Come see the trained chimp. It's the Matt McNeil Show, 3 to 5 p.m. weekday afternoons, right here on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Israel continues its bombardment of Gaza. Local officials say overnight strikes killed at least 85 people, many as they slept. Hamas responded by firing 3 rockets at Israel. Joseph Krause reports this time Israel's operating under fewer constraints.
The Trump administration has voiced full support for Israel's actions, which include the renewed offensive and the decision earlier this month to seal off Gaza from all food, fuel, and humanitarian aid. Trump has gone even further, suggesting that Gaza's entire population, some 2 million Palestinians, should be resettled in other countries. Hamas is weaker and more isolated than it's been at any point in the war.
President Trump has ordered a plan for dismantling the Education Department. The White House says functions like managing Pell Grants and money for children with disabilities will continue. A federal judge has for now blocked the Department of Government Efficiency from Social Security systems with Americans' personal information. And a report on the collapse of Baltimore's Key Bridge finds it was an accident waiting to happen.
National Transportation Safety Board Chair Jennifer Homendy says when a container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in March 2024, Maryland officials had not conducted a vulnerability assessment and guidelines set by the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, AASHTO. Homendy says the NTSB did their own assessment after the accident that killed 6 maintenance workers on the bridge.
The bridge was almost 30 times greater than the risk threshold AASHTO sets for critical essential bridges. 30 times greater. And almost 15 times greater for Pier 17, which the Dolly struck.
Hamidi says the NTSB is urging the owners of 68 bridges in 19 states to conduct a vulnerability assessment of those bridges' risk for catastrophic collapse from a vessel collision. I'm Donna Warder.
This is AP News.
Girls and boys in poverty around the world are dreaming of a better life, filled with dance, art, music, and knowledge. They dream of a brighter future with enough nutritious food to eat, a chance to learn and grow, to get an education, escape poverty, and do incredible things. Today, thanks to Children International and friends like you, such dreams are coming true. Together, we give children a chance to set their sights high and succeed in school and in life by ensuring that they have access to healthcare, education, life skills, and so much more so they can grow, thrive, and believe in themselves. Learn more about Children International and join us in our life-changing work at children.org today. Together, we can help end poverty for good.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 33, then Friday, partly sunny with a high of 53. AM 950 is celebrating 15 years of Matt McNeil on March 30th, and you're invited. Join us at Crooner Supper Club in Fridley from 2 to 5 for an unforgettable celebration. Head over to am950radio.com right now to get your tickets.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour 2 of GhostBox Radio After Dark, our special edition with our very special guest. We have Travis Walton as well as Jennifer Stein. What a fantastic first hour. Don't forget, folks, you can listen to the podcast version of this whole episode on am950radio.com, but you can also stream it along with all the other episodes of GhostBox Radio on Spotify. Tonight, to show you how special tonight is, I'm actually in studio in Eden Prairie. So when I say hello to Adam, who is literally right across from me, it's good to see you, Adam, for once in the flesh.
It's actually good to see you too tonight, and for a show that once you told me what was going to go on, this is one I've been waiting on forever, because I saw Fire in the Sky on the big screen in '93 when it came out. I was 12 at the time, and it is one of those flicks that literally changed my life, because at that point, all you kind of had was E.T., Mac and Me, things like that for a kid my age. But this was the first one that showed me that man wasn't as high on the pecking order as other films had shown. So it really opened my eyes.
Now, I would like to open up the conversation. I still have plenty I want to ask, but I'm going to open it up for people who have questions. You can put it into the comments. I saw a number of them in there already, but you can also call in 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Adam is here to answer the phone and let us know who's calling. But a couple things, Travis, one of the things I alluded to in the last hour was wanted to talk about trees because this was something that I had no idea about until once again, Travis Walton, the movie. You can go and watch it on YouTube. I highly recommend it. What happened to the trees in the area that the spaceship was?
Well, me and some of the guys, including Mike Rogers, went out to the site, and we had a little trouble locating the exact site. And the difficulty was, I found out later, was that the trees had grown rapidly so much that they had changed the appearance.
Yeah.
Of the clearing where the craft had descended. And I found out later that Mike took a core sample from one of these trees and discovered that, and this was like 15 years later, that in that 15 years, the tree had doubled in diameter, although the previous time before 15 years before were very thin. Now, a tree only forms one ring per year, no matter what, whether conditions are favorable or not. It's one ring per year, but it was a tiny percentage of the age of the tree, but the outer rings were enormously increased. And it was only later that another researcher discovered that this phenomenon was directional, that the trees around the circumference of the clearing where the craft had come down all had this accelerated growth, this thicker growth rings, but it was all on the side of the tree towards where the craft had been. And this researcher also discovered that there had been some scientific papers actually published that this phenomenon had manifested in the trees surrounding the Chernobyl nuclear accident, that those trees, by exposure to radiation, had experienced this accelerated growth. And the scientific paper that was published, it was in a regular science journal, explained, because, I always thought that radiation would cause living things to die or, be inhibited. But they explained the mechanism that caused the tree rings to grow rapidly. It was kind of a scar tissue, kind of a wounded response to the injury of the radiation.
It's incredible, and Jennifer, that was picked up by one of the researchers, associate producers on your film, right?
Correct, Ben Hansen.
Ben Hansen.
So Travis and I and Ben all went back to the forest to do what we called a site review in 2014, because we expected people to want to debunk the case in the future. We also expected people to try to plant or destroy evidence that was in the forest still at that point, and to, confuse the data or bury something in the ground that wasn't there. So we went across the ground with tri-field meter readers, and we had a drone flying above it. We'd marked off the area where we knew the craft had appeared, and we were kind of walking around investigating it. And a number of the trees had been cut and sort of, fell over. So you could see the tree laying on the ground and its base, which was like a tabletop height. And we began to kind of realize, these trees did grow rapidly. but they only grew rapidly on one side of the tree.
Incredible.
And that was the side that faced where the craft was. And so as we walked around in a circle looking at this, like if you were looking at it from above, which we had a drone camera above looking at it, we realized that every tree grew more rapidly on one side, and it was different than any other tree in this circle. And that really kind of got our attention. Like we'd kind of knew that, but we hadn't really ever put all the pieces together. And so it was Ben and I and Travis there, and we're just astonished. So we made sure that we put that in the film when I had to revise the film in 2017 because of a rights issue with some of the archive footage we had. So I said, let's make it better and let's really share that. So we did, and we shared information about the Chernobyl research as well.
It's incredible. What a discovery that is.
Yeah, I said it was kind of like looking at the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean, like, oh my God, there it is. There's the evidence. It's staring right back at us, right?
Absolutely. And what I also like about that too, Travis, in the film, you're just like, I ain't telling anybody where this is because we don't want anybody to start messing around here.
And guess what? We were back in the forest just in 2024 with another filmmaker named Patrick James. And it looks like somebody has gone after the existing tree trunks, cut them, burned them, hacked them apart. It's really quite a shame.
Taking samples for souvenirs.
Additional samples. Yeah, taking samples for souvenirs. Yeah. So it's and it's getting overgrown now with new growth that's there. So unless you know the site, you wouldn't recognize it. It's quite changed in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, there's quite a thicket where the tree was parked when I got out of it. I mean, where the truck was parked.
Yeah. In fact, it looks like the trees were deliberately planted there to throw us off.
Oh, yeah, wow. It's quite a concentration of trees in that one spot.
Well, we saw them in 2014 and we walked through them and they were waist high, and now they're, 8 feet high, kind of blocking our views. And so, we know what the site is, where, we know what some of the landmarks are, what to look for, but even some of those landmarks have been destroyed now.
Humans, my God, humans. Travis, sometimes when people go through abductions like you had been through, sometimes it's one time is not the only time. Do you ever feel like that they've ever visited or been a part of your life in any other way since those 5 days?
Possibly. I like to stick to things I can document, with multiple witnesses and whatnot. In 2004, I think it was, I was returning from a MUFON meeting
in Los Angeles.
Tracy Torme spoke there, and the MUFON had just had a new head elected, and he had spoken, and we were leaving. What's the name of it? Starts with a B.
Newport Beach or Laguna Beach. You were over in California, weren't you?
No, B. It starts with a B.
Okay.
That's okay.
Big city in California.
Big Sky, not Big Sky. No.
No.
That's all right. But you ended up having something happened?
Yeah. We saw this light coming at us from a great distance, and very quickly it became 3 lights. Mm-hmm. And it was enormous, gigantic, impossibly huge to be flying that fast. It stopped right over the top of us, a giant black triangle, maybe a quarter of a mile across, very low. It stopped right over the top of us. And it turned right. It's right, and shot off towards the ocean. Me, my son, and my girlfriend all witnesses. But see, I wouldn't be telling you except that UFOstalker.com had taken reports from more than a dozen, maybe a couple of dozen people who had seen what we saw. and they don't know each other. It was set up on like Google Maps, circles with numbers in them, and all these people saw what we saw. Now, was that a UFO, or was that some secret government technology that they wanted me to report as a UFO? I don't know, but it would be quite a coincidence for something that big to stop right over the top of us.
You had been thinking, "Oh God, not again." This time you stayed in the car, I hope.
Yeah, my son says, Dad, should we pull over? And I said, no, keep going. And I was really surprised at myself. I thought I would have had a better response.
So here's an interesting thing. You mentioned a triangle, and one of the things that I wanted to ask, and Jennifer, you know, being out in Phoenix, there was back in the 90s, there were those Phoenix lights that was kind of a triangle, and Travis, so you're familiar with what I'm talking about with the with the Phoenix lights?
Yeah. They just I just attended the conference
anniversary screening of the film with Lynn Katai here on Sunday.
Okay. What went over you in California? Did it have any similarity to that, or was it very different?
Well, I thought it was, you know, each of the points of the triangle had a light that was kind of recessed, sort of like a ceiling light or something, but it had a strange shimmer to it and a little odd color. It wasn't like a white light. I think it was some kind of lift or propulsion sorts of energy coming out of it. That's the impression I got. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't have lights in a V shape, but it had lights on the corner and was a V shape. So
each of the points of the triangle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's something, man. That's interesting.
And, you know, we had over a dozen people reporting seeing the same thing independently. Didn't even know each other.
Right. Do you have reoccurring nightmares?
Yeah.
It's too bad. I mean, it's too bad. I mean, it stays with you. It never goes. And I actually had Kathleen Martin on the program before, and I had presented her with a theory I had. I'm curious what you all think, is that, especially since, you know, her aunt and uncle, Betty and Barney Hill, I mean, they had that great big, abduction. I wonder, those who get abducted, if that basically opens a case file on the alien side, that you're kind of never left alone from that point, that they're always there in some way watching you, being a part. And, you know, Kathleen thought it was an interesting idea. What do you two think about that?
I accepted the terminology abduction, but it turns out in hindsight, it might not have been exactly more of an ambulance call than an abduction.
True. Like a mercy emergency operation for you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think Travis's case is very unique. It's not a typical type of abduction
Right.
that happens again and again and again over many different periods of time in one's lifetime. That's certainly not what Travis has undergone.
True. It's very much like kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, right?
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
That's really something. So that does explain a lot, because, you know, those things, it's like that. That's what I always kind of felt like, that Travis, your experience has always been very separate from everything else, because, you know, you get these hallmarks about these sort of like things that always happen with abductions. But even if it's like a operation to resuscitate you, was there anything anything that was found in your body, or any sort of anything left behind by aliens that you could?
I went through a tremendous amount of testing. There were some unusual readings. I was tested on an MMR machine, a heart monitor machine, and brainwave scanning, the same one that Muhammad Ali was tested on when he developed problems and came to Phoenix um, for treatment. And the technician was not told who I was. So it was kind of a double blind sort of thing where the technician is just looking to see if there's some sort of anomaly related to maybe an electrocution or something of that nature. And there was something found, and I have a copy of that report. And I had a subsequent brainwave scan later, and that was no longer there.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
So by having one the next day or very close on the heels of the incident and having this anomaly, it'd be interesting to have that description compared to something like an electrical shock or something similar.
Absolutely. This is what I'd like to do. Folks, I said that we're going to get to questions, and I never did. We're out of time in this segment, but I promise next segment, we're going to get to all your questions. You got to give me a break here, folks. I'm talking to Travis Walton, okay, and Jennifer Stein. This is, you don't get this opportunity very often. It's my show. I could be like this, okay? So we're going to do this. We're taking a break here. When we come back, your questions, honestly, your questions this time. This is a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you all being here. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh, every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. We are right in it in a very special episode of GhostBox Radio. We are very privileged tonight to have both Travis Walton as well as Jennifer Stein joining us tonight. And once again, I'm going to really ask you all, if you haven't done so, go to YouTube and check out Travis Walton, the movie on YouTube, but also check out TravisWaltonTheMovie.com, because there is a load of information that is great to have with the film itself. And also, I'm putting this up on the screen. I put this into the comments. All of those events that Jennifer has been talking about, you can find out more information at SedonaMUFON.org, and I'm going to put that into the comments, and I have it in the comments, I'm going to put it into the description as well. So please, these are very important events to take part in. And I did promise everybody, it's really hard when you have amazing people on your show to share. I've never been good at sharing, but Travis and Jennifer, I have questions now from audience members. You good with that? Were you good with that?
I'm fine.
All right, let's do it. And also, you can call in 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Your opportunity to actually talk with Travis and Jennifer on the air. But the first question, and there's a lot of questions, so this isn't actually really the first, let's see. Wade asked the question, did you ever get a chance, or do you now remember any conversation with any occupants of the craft?
No, I remember all of the screaming and begging and threats I was expressing at the time, but I wasn't getting any response. Initially, the first human-looking being I encountered was wearing a helmet, so I gave up trying to get a response from him, thinking maybe he couldn't hear me with that on or speak with it on. But I encountered his rest of his crew, people dressed like him, except no helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't respond to my questions either. And that really added to my panic. But I understand now, probably just to minimize anything reportable.
Absolutely. Did the aliens in Fire in the Sky resemble what you had seen, or are they completely different?
It's different. I think they went to the special effects closet and just dug out a bunch of stuff. They had the actor portraying me as returning naked, and that wasn't true.
Well, and I spied with my little eye you in the scene in the part of the film when Mike comes in to
confronts the town in the church.
Town, yep, and you're right there in one of the pews. I was like, my gosh, that has to be kind of surreal, right? Being in a movie about yourself.
They actually filmed a sequence where I stand up and say, "Right, Mike, where is Travis?" But that would have been a very terrible idea to use that. So it was needed, thankfully.
It would have turned into Rocky Horror Picture Show. Everyone in the audience would have been like, "You're right there," I mean.
No, it was definitely not. There were some other things that were filmed relative to the naked returning Travis, encountering a couple being intimate in a car, and that was filmed, but deleted, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did from Doug asked the question, did you keep in contact with Mike? And I would say with about and certainly I know you had with Steve.
Probably more with Mike, but I really had to work to find Dwayne Smith, and he agreed to come on the road with me and speak. And then next time I went to get a hold of him for an event, he had passed away.
Oh, wow. That's too bad.
I'll add, a lot of people may not quite get this, but Travis was dating Mike's younger sister, Dana, when this event happened. And Dana and Travis got married and had 4 children together, and now have 14 grandchildren?
17.
17.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
wow.
Yes. I mean, they get together because they're family, right?
Absolutely. That makes
very, very exceptional children.
I bet.
Yes.
I bet. Now, in the film, there's a point where Steve says that for a while he hated you, and he mentioned it in kind of one of the shots where you and him were together. Was that the first time you ever heard that from him?
Steve?
Yeah.
Well, jealousy crops up after a while. They're with me. There's a lot of attention. and people are just rushing right by him to talk to me. And Steve fielded a question. If there was one thing you could change about the event, what would that be? He said, yeah, I'd crank up the voltage. He thought it was a funny comment. That the beam, if it had been more powerful, it would have killed me. But maybe it did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was the kind of thing that he says out of jealousy. And he just couldn't take it anymore. Couldn't come with me because, who wants to play second fiddle,
Well, he wasn't abducted. So, I mean, there's that.
I think it affected all of them that way to some degree.
I'm sure. Now, Adam, help me out here with the caller. There was a caller that left a comment.
Yeah, a caller called in, left the comment. They were claiming that the UFO sighting after that MUFON event in California that Travis referenced earlier was likely out of Big Sur, because there's a few articles of a sighting there around the same time. But that's
it was Southern California. It was MUFON, Southern California. I'm thinking Bakersfield maybe or something.
Right on. But yeah, that's what they called in to
there might have been a multiple sightings and maybe that night or something. Yeah, I mean that's not completely unheard of. Let's see here, going with lots of questions here. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but while you're in the craft, did you get any sense that it was moving at all, or was everything very still?
I did not feel any movement whatsoever in the craft. It was very humid and difficult to breathe, but I don't know whether that was because of my injury or an atmosphere not compatible with humans.
There was also gravity in where they were.
Oh. Yeah,
so
and
keep that in mind.
The feeling of weakness that I had was because I was injured, or maybe it was heavier gravity. I don't know.
I find these questions very interesting because these are it's like you don't think about these, and it's interesting what you remember, what you don't remember, because you're kind of in a flight or fight situation there.
Yeah.
But the question is, like, do you remember any of the aliens giving you food or substance? Was it
no, that episode was pretty brief and pretty traumatic.
Wow.
But
there is
and the point, that's a good point, that the blood tests did not denote starvation. I guess there would be elevated ketones in the blood.
There is a middle section of the documentary where we actually go through the actual reenactment of what happened when Travis woke up until the point when he was back out unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So that period of time, we don't know how long that was. It could have been 20 minutes. It could have been an hour and a half, him coming to consciousness.
Yeah.
But we do a reenactment of that's based on the book. And Travis went over it very clearly with me on the phone while we were filming it to make sure that we got it as accurate as possible. And it also follows his verbal recounting of it. So as he's describing it from an interview, we are reenacting what happened to him. And what I think is one of the most interesting things what happened on board the craft is that he's encountering two different species. And this was 1975. You didn't hear about that in 1975. The gray alien type beings that he wakes up with, and then other people that he thought were human. I mean, he really thought like NASA had come to rescue him. He thought it was an astronaut or a human.
Well, I think now in hindsight, probably the only way I was going to cooperate and allow the medical repairs to continue was with something other than what I took to be monsters.
But it also appeared that craft you were in had parked itself inside a hangar with other craft that were different. And maybe that was the humanoid type craft, and they brought you to one of their craft, or possibly their planet, or maybe a base underground. We have no idea where it was.
Yeah,
but
possibly.
It's like there was some kind of cooperation going on between these two different species,
Well, and that's an interesting question, and that was Jennifer, when you had mentioned, Travis, when you had mentioned this hangar or whatever, my mind always goes to, is there a partnership between people of Earth or government or whatever and aliens? And Travis, I just love your general thoughts on that. What you think?
Well, I'm constantly barraged with the idea that the government's secrecy, they need to just throw them the books and say everything they know. Well, they have gone so far as to admit that there's something there. They actually did it in two grand openings. One where they say, okay, we're finally going to tell you the truth. Yes. And they had this military gun camera footage, and there was almost no reaction. It was released late on Friday, late in the news cycle, so nothing happened by Monday. So it didn't create much of a stir at all. So they repeated the same thing. The gun camera footage and everything was supposed to be the grand release and admission that there's something there that they do not know what is there. So that occurred a second time, and that got very little response out of the public. I think their reaction is basically not that they disbelieve it, but their reaction is, so what else is new? At least you're not trying to claim that anybody who sees this are crazy or something, because that wasn't working. To discredit the witness was actually discrediting the government. So they had to come forward and say, okay, there's something there. But to continue my theory about the government throwing open the files, I recommend against it in the sense that if they've recovered technology or wreckage or something, it's of limited but valuable use to the government.
Yeah.
And it would be foolish for them to reveal this when we've got the Chinese and the Russians who may have similar harvested technology, and they would love to know the limits of what we have. But I think it might even be preventing World War III just to not tell them what we have completely, because they don't know what to expect. If we gave them everything we have, they might say, okay, yeah, we'll throw open our files too. But are you really going to believe that you're getting everything they had?
Absolutely. And, what's also interesting is, 1975, you could see how people reacted, especially in Snowflake, but really around the country, about how people were very unsure about aliens, unsure about your experience. Have we moved on enough that if they did give full disclosure, do you think that that people are in a better shape now, better place to accept it, or is we're still going to have a lot of issues with that?
Well, I think in a sense they did give full disclosure in acknowledging there's something there. It's not ours, and it's exhibits abilities that we don't have, or that no one on Earth that we're aware of has.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much close to disclosure. Now, throwing open the books and saying, okay, we covered this wreckage here or something like that, I think would be a bad idea.
Right. Absolutely. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's go ahead and take our next break. We have one more segment left. We're going to get to more questions and just finish up here and end on a great note. Folks, we got Travis Walton and Jennifer Stein here. What a great program. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
The Electric Fetus is having a pre-inventory store-wide sale now through March 23rd. Take 20% off almost everything in the store, including new and used vinyl, CDs and DVDs, Electric Fetus t-shirts, hats and pint glasses, and tons of other great gift items. The store is open 10 to 6 Tuesdays through Saturdays and 11 to 6 on Sundays. It's closed on Mondays. The Electric Fetus is located just south of downtown Minneapolis at 2000 South 4th Avenue. More info at electricfetus.com. Sale ends Sunday.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. And join us tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. Tomorrow is what we call Casual Friday. Normally, during the week, Monday through Thursday, we do the interviews. Friday, we kind of go through stories, question of the week, all that good stuff. I have a feeling that we're going to be talking about this interview tomorrow, kind of feedback, what we thought, just we're going to keep the conversation going. It's Adam, myself, anyone else who wants to join in, because this has been such a great experience that I know that we got lots to talk about with this. So join us tomorrow for Casual Friday. We are in the final segment of this special 2-hour GhostBox Radio with our very, very special guests, Travis Walton and Jennifer Stein. And I just, I've been seeing this in the comments. Everybody just really wants to thank you both for giving us so much of your time tonight. That's really very, very kind of both of you. And once again, as we finish off the show, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205 if you want to call in. Otherwise, a couple more comments in the comments section here. And Chuck asked the question to Travis, has Travis gained any undisclosed information that was hidden from him in the time since his abduction that he was not aware of?
Well, no comment.
All right. That's interesting. And that's
I'll add that, he was gone while people were looking for him. I mean, There was over 100 people a day for 5 days searching for him. And he learned about that. And he also learned about the fact that the boys all underwent, lie detection tests because they were accused of murdering him. And they could have gone to the electric chair or been still in jail if Travis had not been returned. So people don't really realize the seriousness that all these crew members were under and the real serious suspicion.
Because it's history to us now, isn't
Yes.
it? We know the outcome, but during that moment was horrific for everybody.
Of course. So Travis didn't know all that was going on. In fact, when he was returned, he thought it was the same night. It was his brother who had to say, Travis, feel your face. He had a 5-day growth of beard like he does now.
Right.
But
I appreciate you recreating that for us tonight, Travis. It's very kind of you.
He did not know. He thought it was the same night. He thought, they picked me up, they healed me up, and they brought me back. He knew it was nighttime, but he didn't know 5 days had gone by.
Gosh, I can't even imagine that much time. I mean, that alone is just like really, really mind-boggling. That just really messes with you.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Messes with your head.
Absolutely. Wade asked the question, did you ever see any bruises on your arms from when they lowered you to the ground on your return?
I did have a red, it was a broken blood vessel. It looked sort of like a puncture wound on the inside of my right arm, but the doctor said it was not over any major blood vessels, so it could have easily been some sort of, we work in the brush, and it's rough work, and trees are falling on us and all that sort of stuff. It could have been something that minor nick that happened at work before the incident.
Right. Because I could imagine doing the work that you're doing, a lot of stuff would happen where you wouldn't even necessarily know it happens till after the fact, because like you said, a lot of stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can say this, I've said it before, that I was extremely anxious that I may come down with some medical effects, some negative health effects that might crop up later, cancer or something like that. And so, I kept an eye on that with my physician, but it turns out I actually, it was the opposite. I never called in sick for like 15 years after that.
Wow. I mean, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about it. If you're in an area that's getting Chernobyl style radiation, yeah, of course, you got to wonder what's going on and what could that affect, and even, I mean, you could even argue possibly to some extent the rest of the crew, because they're in the immediate area.
Well, during those years, I was working 12-hour days just to occupy my mind with something other than what I had experienced. So, to be working weekends and holidays and, putting in 12-hour days continuously and still never a sick day.
Yeah. Incredible. It's kind of switching gears here a little bit here. Jennifer, being part of MUFON, have you ever had any experiences yourself?
Yes. I'll just leave it at that. Yes.
All right. All right. That makes for great radio, Jennifer. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Well, it's not about me, but yes, I had a sighting in 1975 before Travis's, actually, but it remained in my gray box for 25 years. I did not unpack it until someone else who was at my house at the time in 1975 saw and experienced the same thing I did, but we never talked about it at the time.
Yeah.
So 25 years later, this person says, "What happened when we saw that UFO?" And I was like, "Oh." And that's at the point when I realized, okay, it's no longer in my gray box.
Did that open stuff up for you when just that being said that, or were you already aware of that?
I was already aware of it. I had written it down in detail. It was a sighting at 5:30 in the morning, and I had woken my mother up shortly after this to ask her if she saw it. Her response to me was, "Are you on drugs?" Because it was early in the morning. And, I said, "No, Mom, I'm not on drugs." And I'm trying to explain to her what was just outside our bedroom window. She did not see it, but I had written it all down in my journal. But I wasn't sure, okay, was it a dream? Did I dream it? I didn't have the piece of information I needed until 25 years later. So that's kind of what gave me permission to say, okay, this phenomenon may be more real than I've led myself to be educated about, and it's probably time to start going to conferences or join a MUFON group. And there wasn't one in my Philadelphia area, and someone, knighted me sort of like with the job. "Why don't you start one? We could use one, Jen. You could do that, So I started bringing people in like Kathleen Martin and Linda Katai and Stanton Friedman and Zachariah Sitchin and Linda Howe, and various people come in to speak. And then they would stay at my home, and then I'd read their books, and then, I'd introduce them to my friends, and before you know it, they were friends. And then before you know it, I'm doing film work for different people. And, one thing kind of led to another. But I have had a couple of sightings. I will say that. I also went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. I have a degree in Bachelor of Science in Textiles from the University of Arizona. And while I was there, there was an Air Force base right nearby, and one of the jets from the Air Force base actually crashed right off of campus.
Oh, wow.
The pilot ejected right down onto the mall. We all kind of saw it and heard it. So a lot of us were like aware, and we're always looking up like, okay, you know, what's going on. And during that period of time, I also saw something else pretty unusual, you know, two lights coming right for each other while I was out jogging one day, pretty high up. And I thought, oh no, there's going to be another military crash. You know, what's going on? Oh no.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they hit each other. They get really big. And then they break apart into all these different lights, and they all flitter around like this. And then they all take off. Boom, 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 like that. You know? And I'm like, whoa, did you see that? Of course, there's 12 other people jogging the trail with me, and we all saw it. So there's been a couple of things like that I have seen.
That's incredible. Now, and then Travis too, based on that, and you know, there's people who like to do like CE5 experiments. They want to experience the phenomenon of alien encounters and whatnot. And as you having firsthand experience of it, what's your thought when you hear that people, without going through what you went through, just kind of nonchalantly would like to experience alien encounters?
Well, I don't think it's accidental. I used to think that, you know, people would talk about multiple sightings or something and say, oh, they're keeping track of me or something. And I said, oh, come on. You know, I called it my anthill theory. You know, you're walking by an anthill and you say, I think I'll stop and have a conversation with that ant right there. You know, that's how absurd I thought it was, that they're so much smarter than us, and we're so insignificant that they wouldn't be respecter of persons, so to speak. But now I think entirely different. I think if you saw one when you were a child and you see one as an adult, they know it's you. And I base that on the accumulation and the processing of data that humans have. We have the Utah Data Center and similar installations that I'm hearing about lately, where they've got millions of gallons of water just to cool the computers that are recording every electronic transmission on the face of the earth. You can look it up, Utah Data Center. And if humans can do that, certainly aliens can keep track of which human is which.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And
that's just a theory, but you know, I think it's reasonable.
I think it is too. And that's kind of what I was trying to get to earlier, was the idea of like, you know, maybe marked is not quite the right word. Maybe it is about, you know, when, and we're talking about abduction. We're not talking about your situation. That, you know,
well, I did have an experience as a small child, but
no,
I didn't have any witnesses, and I insisted to my family that this happened, and they insisted it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream.
No,
and it's not a dream.
No.
This being fit the description of Betty and Barney Hill's beings to a T. But I didn't call it an alien at the time. It was just a little man with a big head and huge eyes. And, you know, in those days, to kids, an alien was like my favorite Martian, you know, just a human with two little antennae that would sprout out of the top of his head, you know. But
you've never written about that in your book, did you, Travis?
No, I didn't. But I talked to my sister about that here a while back, and she remembers that. She says, yeah, I remember that. You insisted it was real. And she goes, it was a dream. Like, how do you know? What makes you think, what makes you so sure? You know, I know a dream, and I've had many vivid dreams. I had many nightmares in my life, and nothing like this.
No.
You know?
Wow.
And all of my family members remember that particular incident where I insisted this happened.
Wow.
But I don't have a bunch of witnesses on that one. So take it or leave it.
Yeah, it was a little gray, and he was like playing with your blanket, right? Or lifting up your blanket or something, and you woke up and you tried to chase him down the hall, and he disappeared.
Yeah, it was hot in Phoenix, and we were sleeping where the cooler could blow down through the hallway there. And I was awakened by my blanket being lifted up, and I looked to see what was lifting it up, and it was this little man.
Wow. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, he's never told it before. Yes,
Well, I don't talk about it because like I said, I can't document it other than all my family who remembers me insisting it was real.
That's incredible. As we're wrapping up here, we only have a couple minutes left. Travis, I mean, was a big part of you keeping, I mean, because you could have disappeared after a while and just been like, I don't want to ever talk about this again, but you keep talking, you keep in educating people. Does that have anything to do with wanting to make sure that people feel safe to be able to talk about their own experiences?
Well, yes, that too, but at the same time, I've considered going dark on this. I'm considering it a lot recently, just to quit talking about it. And, there it is. I've described it in every detail that I can, and be done with it.
I have a point that I think people need to know about this, and it's where I come to defense of Travis and all the boys in the crew. None of them had a choice about coming forward about this because Travis was missing. Right. And because he was missing, the boys were accused of murdering him. And when Travis came back, it's not like he had some kind of typical abduction experience that then he decided to go public about and write a book about. I mean, he was hounded by the police, right? And then, of course, you have Tracy Torme that shows up 20 years later and does a Paramount Picture film.
Yeah, the book and the movie came much, much later. It was not an immediate response at all.
Right.
But, Travis really could not, shy from this. And really, in my defense of Travis, which is partly why I made the documentary about him, is that he has risen to the occasion. He's sort of embraced it, accepted it, and said, okay, the only thing I can do is stand in my authentic story and be my authentic self and share this. And anyone who has met him and spent time with him realizes that, which I did as well. And that's partly why I made the film. So
and I'm going to say again, the film really shows that, and tonight, in my opinion, really shows that as well. You both have given us so much of your time and so much great information. People in the comments are just so thrilled that you decided to spend a little bit of time with us tonight, and it's not a little bit; it was a great deal of time. I cannot thank you both for this, so. Once again, please go and watch Travis Walton, the movie. Go to traviswaltonthemovie.com. Check out all of the events that Jennifer had talked about in the last hour at sedonamufon.org. We're going to talk about those again tomorrow.
And Travis's website too, traviswalton.com.
Well, my appreciation to the listeners who commented that we didn't get to. And thank them for their interest.
Very much so. We are running out of time here. Travis and Jennifer, thank you so very much for everything tonight. What a great show. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. And we'll be back tomorrow with Casual Friday. Once again, thank you all for joining in this special 2-hour GhostBox Radio. We'll be back tomorrow. Adam, thank you very much. Everyone, have a great night.
Your Need to Know News headquarters.